Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I wanted to pop in today because I have a message to all of the high performers who are out there. Look, I know that you have the track record, you have the experience, you have results most people would kill for. And that is what is so frustrating. And yet, you're not where you should be. The compensation does not reflect it. The opportunities are not coming. You keep getting passed over for people who are frankly less qualified than you. And everyone keeps telling you to work harder, build more, do more, be more. And here's what I want you to hear today: you're not underperforming, you are underpositioned. And I'm going to talk about what that means because not everyone, understands this. Look, I've been doing this for the last 6 years and I have worked with over 1,000 people. I have seen the patterns, I have studied them. I looked at the ingredients that help people become successful, and I've helped people in different markets. I've seen the financial crisis. I have also seen, the market when the pandemic just happened and there were hiring freezes. I've also helped people through, you know, the worst of the layoffs. And what I'll tell you is honestly based on my experience of seeing those patterns and being a high achiever myself. Because the thing is, if you are in a role and you're feeling stagnant, you're not getting the promotion that you want, or deep inside, there's a voice that's telling you that you deserve more. The thing is, this is not a performance problem, and the solution is not more effort. It is a positioning problem. And I promise you, for most of the ambitious, accomplished people watching this, effort alone is not going to fix this. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little story about effort that happened to me recently. It's why I haven't been posting that much in the past week. So I was diagnosed with vestibular migraines last year in May. Okay. And I have not been exercising that much. I got out of shape. And so I decided that what is going to fix, my condition is more effort. I hired a trainer. He pushed me hard to the point of fatigue. I injured my neck and it created a setback for me. Now, contrasting with going to a physiotherapist who gave me less intense exercise that did not require as much effort, but were very effective and aligned with my needs. And I recovered pretty quickly. So, this is what I'm saying. Effort is not always the solution to what you're struggling with. I know that you are a high achiever and you've been conditioned to always internalize everything and think that the fix to everything in your life is more effort, but it is not. Okay? It is the right strategy. And the strategy that we are going to talk about is a positioning strategy. So, I have been studying the physics of what keeps high performers stuck. I am specialized in helping high performers because I am a high performer myself. I was in the corporate world for more than 15 years. I took my salary from 40,000 to 200,000 in a very short period of time. And I understand the psychology behind being high performer and the mistakes that high performers make. And I will say all of my clients are high performers. They have landed at companies like Amazon and Meta. They have landed at, very competitive, organizations and Fortune 500 organizations. So I understand. I completely understand what you're going through. And what I have done in the past 6 years is I have identified 5 specific loops that create a ceiling most senior professionals never break through. Not because they can't, because nobody ever showed them the map. So today, if you listen till the end, I am going to give you the map. If you want to land, roles between $200,000 to $350,000, then I encourage you to pay attention. This is going to work for you whether you are a senior individual contributor with more than 15 years of experience, or you are at the director and VP level. So if you are watching live, I'd love for you to participate because it is not fun when I'm just talking to myself and I'm talking to a screen. So please let me know in the comments if you're here, where you're from, and if you identify with being a high performer, maybe drop in the comments, high performer. Now, if you know a high performer who's been plateaued longer than they should be, I also encourage you to repost this because you never know. There might be someone out there who is struggling. And isn't it great to actually help people out there and share with them this information? It might change something for them and make their day. So now let's get into the different loops. I want to talk about loop number 1. So loop number 1 is what I call the scarcity tax. This is the strategic paralysis spiral. I'm mincing my words today. Bear with me. So there's a Harvard study that found that when your mind is consumed by financial stress, your effective IQ drops by 13 points, you guys. Can you imagine? This is why it's so important to be in an environment that does not stress you out. In fact, when you are in a stressful environment, you become reactive instead of proactive. You cannot think long term because you're too busy fighting the present. I'm sure you all know fight or flight mode, right? When you are in that mode, can you really be strategic? You cannot because you're too busy fighting. Now, you might be thinking that's not me. I'm not financially stressed. But here's what I want you to consider. You don't have to be financially stressed in order for you to be in scarcity mode. In fact, I have actually met people who make beyond $300,000 who are in scarcity mode and who are still feeling like they don't have enough money. And the thing is, when you are in a work environment that stresses you out, you actually spend more money taking care of yourself. Believe me, I've experienced this myself. When you're in a role that's draining you, when you're underpaid and you know it, when you've been passed over and it stings, when you're watching less qualified people get promoted, your cognitive bandwidth collapses in exactly the same way. You stop thinking strategically and start thinking reactively. You apply to anything. Maybe some of you are hitting the easy button, the easy apply button on LinkedIn, right? That's what we call being reactive. You apply to anything that looks like an upgrade. You take the first offer because at least it's movement. You interview from a place of quiet desperation instead of grounded confidence. And hiring managers feel it, even when you think you're hiding it. This is the strategic paralysis spiral. And the higher your level, the more expensive it is. A bad move at the director level costs you 12 to 18 months. At the VP level, it can set your trajectory back years. And the fix isn't just financial runway. Though that obviously helps, the fix is strategic clarity as a buffer. When you are crystal clear on exactly what you're worth, exactly what problem you solve, and exactly who needs you, desperation evaporates. You are no longer choosing from what's available. You are choosing from what is aligned. That clarity is worth more than any single salary negotiation. It is the foundation everything else is built on. And this is why the first thing that I work on with my clients is getting that clarity. A lot of people, sometimes tell me that, yeah, I know exactly what I want. I know what the title is. I'm applying to this role and that role. But deep down inside, they're not 100% convinced that that is the role that is going to help them grow their career. They don't know if that is the right move for them. And they're not sure if this is the role that truly aligns with their experience, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what's out there in the market. It's not your job to sit there and learn all of the roles that are out there. But someone like me, that is my job. you know, I do this all day. I look at those patterns. I have databases of this information, and I'm also a trained professional. I'm a certified, career coach. I'm part of an international association where I'm privy to this data. And so when I work with clients, I can see the difference when they have that conviction and when they know what they are worth. It keeps them from sabotaging and making decisions out of scarcity. And this is why it's important to understand your North Star. Okay, loop number 2. I call it the dopamine trap, the prestige and validation loop. This one is subtle and it hits ambitious people especially hard. When you're undervalued and overlooked, your brain is hungry for a win. And so you go looking for the wrong wins. You take the VP title at a company that's actually a step sideways. You chase the prestigious brand name that pays 50,000, below your market value because at least it looks impressive. You say yes to a stretch promotion that doubles your scope and only adds 3% to your salary. And then you tell yourself that it's an investment in your future. Okay. Believe me, I've been there. I've chased, big, brand name companies only to realize one day as I walked into the printing room that they were charging 3 times the client what they were compensating me. It was quite sad. Now, for a few weeks, when you chase basically that prestigious brand name, or you accept that promotion that only adds 3% to your salary, for a few weeks, it feels like progress. You update LinkedIn, people congratulate you, the dopamine hits, and then you realize that you're still underpositioned, just with a fancier label. This is the career version of optimizing for how things look instead of what they're actually worth. And ambitious people are especially vulnerable to it because we're wired to achieve. We're wired to chase status. We want the win. We want the momentum. So we will take anything that somehow, looks like momentum. We'll take the wrong win just to feel like we're moving. The shift I want you to make is this: stop collecting titles and start building career assets. The thing is, career assets compound. And this is what I mean by career assets: your reputation, your thought leadership, your network of people who genuinely advocate for you and say nice things when you're not in the room. Those things are the things that work for you while you sleep. A prestigious title at a company that doesn't actually value you is actually a liability. It leaks your momentum every single day. The question to ask before any career move is not, does this look good? It's, does this compound? Just like an investment that accumulates interest, does it compound? Not, does it give me the short-term benefit? Don't just think about what's going on today and what you're making right now. Just because you're in the same company for 3, 4, 5, 9 years, don't just stay there because of how it would look like if you left. Don't just stay there because of what your friends are telling you, right? Think about, as a logical person, especially if you are in product and you understand strategy. I mean, for God's sake, apply that to your own career. Be strategic. Okay, loop number 3. I call it the linear income trap, the hours for dollars ceiling. Gosh, this is this one is the engine of the whole loop. And most senior professionals don't even see it because we are brainwashed to think that if we're paid more, we have to put in more hours. And this is why people sometimes are scared of getting promoted or moving up, because in their head, they think, if I leave, I'm going to sacrifice work-life balance. If I grow, I'm going to sacrifice work-life balance. I've seen individual contributors who put in more hours than people who are at the VP level. Believe me, I've also lived it. I've lived it where I had to pull night shifts in a 9 to 5 job, where I was literally at the client site working on projects from 9 a.m. all the way till 9 in the morning the next day. And I was an individual contributor. I wasn't at the director level. So the thing is, you were taught that career progress is linear. You work hard, you get promoted, you get a raise, you work harder, you get promoted again. But here's the math that nobody tells you. The thing is, the only way, I will tell you in true honesty, because again, I've helped over 1,000 people and I've helped people through this debacle of, should I stay? Should I leave? They promised me a promotion. They've been telling me for 2 years. It kills me on the inside, but sometimes fear traps you from actually making a change. The only way that you are going to significantly increase your salary is if you leave. Guess what? If they didn't promote you a year ago, they're not going to promote you next year. Sorry to say this. It's like staying in a relationship where you keep convincing yourself that the person is going to change. And you get a 4% raise, and then inflation runs at 6%. You are objectively poorer than the last year, and you worked harder to get there. Meanwhile, the responsibilities keep stacking. The expectations keep rising, because guess what? They did you a favor now and they increased your salary. You might as well have a fresh start somewhere else, because it's like you're running down an escalator and the escalator is winning. You are going against basically the tide. And the thing is, what I see people do is they work more hours, they take on more projects because they want to prove themselves, because they hope someone notices. And then they burn out trying to solve a math problem with effort that cannot, by definition, fix it. You cannot out effort a broken equation. You have to change the equation. This is exactly what my category of one framework is built on. You stop trying to be the best version of a generic job title, the best marketing director, the best operations VP, because that market is crowded. That value is commoditized and the ceiling is low. Instead, what you need to do is you need to look at what you uniquely bring to the table. As a leader, you don't follow the market, you shape the market. You know more than anyone else how organizations need to run. And so when you're going and you're chasing certifications and MBA degrees, all you're doing is you're being a follower. You're not being a leader. Sorry to say that. All right. What you actually need to do, and some people talk to me about, oh my God, I'm a jack of all trades. I don't have an advantage. I'm not specialized. You actually do not need to be overly specialized based on function. In fact, if you are a marketing director who also speaks fluent supply chain because of your early career in operations, that is actually an advantage to an organization. But it's all in the way that you position yourself, and it's all in the way that you connect it to what organizations are struggling with. And sometimes organizations are not even aware about the problems that they're experiencing. And it's your job as a leader to help them see how your skills connect to their problem. And part of positioning is not just knowing your position in the market, it's actually being great at communicating your value in a way that people get it. And this is a skill set that I help my clients with. This is how I have more than 46,000 followers, is because I know how to communicate my skill set. So when you stack rare combinations of skill sets, you actually break the linear ceiling. And now I know you're going to tell me I don't have rare skill sets. You actually do, but you just are not aware of it because you've done so much in your career. You just don't see it. You need someone on the outside who can look at it all and ask you the right questions to be able to mine it. And this is what I do with my clients. I actually take the time and the effort to do that. Versus, other service providers who get you to fill out templates, right? And slap together a resume that's a piece of paper. You need to stop being a commodity and become an asset in this market. This is how you're going to thrive in a very tough market, by being different. Okay. So the question that I want you sitting with right now is, what is your unique combination of skill set? What are the 2 or 3 things that stack together make you genuinely irreplaceable? What do you do better than anyone else? Drop in the comments. I want to read them. All right, so I'm going to talk about loop number 4. Loop number 4 is what I call social gravity. The mediocre peer group. This is the most emotionally difficult one, and I'm going to say it very plainly. If everyone around you has accepted roles that are below 150,000 or even 150,000, to be frank, as a ceiling, okay? I have people who come to me and they've given up on themselves and they lower their salary. They've made more than $200,000 in the past, but they come to me saying that now they're going to accept 150,000. Why? Because the people around them accepted it. Okay? This is called the crab bucket effect. You put one crab in a bucket, it crawls out. But when you put 10 crabs in a bucket, every time one of these crabs tries to escape, the other ones pull it back down. Not because they're evil, but because your escape highlights their imprisonment. So for them to see you, escape, they're not going to want that for you. And so this is why when you're having conversations with people and when you go on LinkedIn, you see all the doom and gloom, because it makes people who are not succeeding feel better to say that the market is bad because they don't want to take accountability. And so you start believing them too, and that pulls you down with them. The career version of this is real, and it is everywhere. It's the peer group where everyone complains about their boss and nobody does anything about it. It's the colleague who says the market's tough, just be grateful you have a job. It's the LinkedIn echo chamber full of people celebrating their tiny little raises and their lateral move. When you are surrounded by people who have made peace with being undervalued, their ceiling becomes your ceiling, not because you chose it, but because you are a human being, and human beings are wired to match the frequency of the people around them. It is literally a survival instinct because you don't want to be rejected. And so this is what you do. Look, I understand you can't always change your zip code, your postal code, whatever term you want to call it. You can't always leave your team immediately, but you can control the inputs into your mind. You can find communities who have a more resilient way of thinking, who have ambition. This is why I'm also big on curating communities for my clients and screening people before they come to my program, because I want to make sure that the people who are in my community and my clients, community is not going to create that crab effect where people are pulling each other down. Instead, I want people who lift each other up. So I invite you to find those communities and to read the biographies of people who have done what you want to do. Find mentors who have achieved what you want to do, not mentors who tell you that your ambition is too big. And critically, you stop seeking validation for your career decisions from people who have never done what you're trying to do. You are the average of the voices you let in. Curate ruthlessly. This, by the way, is one of the things that happen inside my career transformation program. Being surrounded by people who encourage you to have unrealistic goals. Unrealistic goals. And, when you surround yourself by people doing exactly what you're trying to do, that actually motivates you. The shift in what feels possible becomes immediate. Now, I want to talk about loop number 5, the compound void, career equity versus career debt. Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. In your career, there is the same divide. Career debt looks like this. You stay too long in a role that doesn't challenge you. Your skills quietly decline. The market moves on. You become obsolete. You stop being someone who learns and starts being someone who maintains. And every year that you do this, the gap between where you are and where you could be widens. Okay, in case there's any misunderstanding, I am not talking about certifications or learning more AI stuff. All right? Because you can learn till the cows come home, but if you don't have an opportunity to actually apply your knowledge, there's no point. Organizations are not going to evaluate you based on what theory is in your head. Organizations are going to evaluate you based on evidence and outcomes. So what I am talking about is the longer you stay in an organization that to you feels layoff proof and safe because you're afraid of what's going on in the market, you are actually creating a prison sentence for yourself of being obsolete. Okay? It's really as simple as that. You become your stagnant organization. And eventually, that organization will not do well financially. And so this is what I'm talking about in terms of, understanding long term versus the immediate term. You don't feel it at first, it's invisible. But one day, you're in an interview and you realize that you haven't done anything genuinely new for the past 4 years, that is career debt. And just like financial debt, it compounds against you silently. Career equity looks like this. Every role builds something that transfers to the next. Your reputation grows, your network deepens, your thought leadership compounds, opportunities start finding you instead of the other way around. The professionals who have escaped the career poverty loop are on this side. They don't apply to jobs, jobs come to them. And, you want evidence because you are very analytical. I will give you evidence. I have a client recently, not even at the director level, individual contributor, went from $130,000 to $200,000. Okay. Because she made that decision where she's not staying in the company for more than 4 years. And her reputation spoke for itself. Her positioning spoke for itself. Her reputation spoke for itself because her and I actually worked together twice over the span of a 4-year period. And she had the strategy to ensure that she is not making herself irrelevant. And because of that, she landed the role. Even though she initially said to me, I don't have a network. Okay. But when you are continuously working on yourself and positioning yourself and selling your value, people will simply come to you because they see your value. This is how you build relationships in a network. How are people who are great at networking good at this? Because they simply show their value. That's why people gravitate towards them. And if you're not good at communicating your value, then you need to work on it. When you are in a position of power and opportunities are coming to you, you're not negotiating from desperation. You're negotiating from a place of multiple options. And again, I'm not saying leave your job with nothing lined up, but if you don't have options, that's dangerous. It means you don't have leverage and you want to have leverage. This is how you create escape velocity, and it's available to you, but you have to deliberately build it. If you're sitting here investing in all kinds of things, whether it's your house, you're renovating, you're taking certifications, you've done your MBA, you got to invest in your ability to market yourself as well. You got to invest. It's kind of like if you have money, you're making money, like wealthy people, they hire a financial advisor in order to help them to create a strategy so their money works for them. And it's the same thing. You need to create a strategy so that your career works for you. So now let's talk about the 3 stages of career escape. Here's the framework. 3 stages. This is how you actually get out. Stage 1, stop the bleeding. Before you can build anything, you have to stabilize. Stop taking on more responsibilities without having basically that buffer, right? If you are unemployed, then take a lily pad if you're worried about your finances. Because when you have that lily pad, and what I mean by lily pad could be a lateral move, right? Because it's Maslow's hierarchy. When your basic needs are met, you are going to be able to invest. It's kind of like if someone is not able to pay their credit card debt, they're not going to think about investing in their career. They have to create enough, financial stability to pay off their credit card debt before they actually start thinking about investments and stocks. So this is the same thing. Stop the slow burnout that's eating your clarity. Create enough runway, financial or otherwise, so that you can be in a space where you can think strategically. This is temporary survival mode, but it's done with intention. Once you are past the bleeding stage, then we get into stage 2. This is where you build your career assets. And this is when people come to me usually. This is the best stage when you can actually come to me and future proof your career. This is where we do the positioning work. We clarify your category of one. You get ruthlessly clear on the story you tell about your value, not a laundry list of what you've done, but a precise, powerful articulation of what it is. Okay? You cultivate, you build the thought leadership, you cultivate the network, you stack the skills. This is the work that I love doing with clients. And then once we do that, then we're going to create more options. And it's always good to have options so that you can continuously grow your career. And when you understand the framework, you can keep applying it over and over and over again. I have clients who join my program, have the strategy, and now they apply it on their own. Okay, stage 3, escape velocity. This is when your career assets start generating inbound opportunities. This is when recruiters reach out to you. They make you offers that you can't refuse. That happened to one of my clients. He added $100,000 to his previous salary because he had leverage. When your next move is chosen, not accepted, when your compensation actually reflects your actual market value, not what your last employer decided you were worth. Once you hit that stage, the friction disappears and the loops stop pulling, and you can finally move with intention. So here's what I want you to take away from today. I want you to understand that you're not stuck because you're not good enough. You are not stuck because the market is broken. You're not stuck because you need another certification or another year of experience. You are stuck because you are running loops. And I went over those loops. You can rewatch this if you like, if you want to review them. Those loops were never designed to get you where you're trying to go. And the 5 loops: strategic paralysis, the prestige trap, the linear income ceiling, the mediocre peer group, career debt compounding against you silently. These are chains that keep you from, getting to where you want to be. And none of them require you to work harder to break. They require you to work differently. Again, back to my analogy from before. Worked with a trainer, pushed me hard, injured me. Worked with a physiotherapist, gave me more effective exercises, less intense, and I healed. Okay? So it's not always about working more or working hard. It's about leverage and a more effective strategy. When you have the right strategy, when you have the right positioning, when you have the right story that you're telling to an employer that actually resonates with them, and the right moves at the right time, this is when you succeed in your career. So if you're a director, VP, or a senior professional with more than 15 years of experience, and you're ready to stop guessing and start moving with precision, if you're looking for someone who's experienced, who's an expert, who's done this before, who spends days, and hours looking at, job market data and patterns, you are welcome to book a career diagnosis with me. Okay. The link is on my profile. You can find it. I will show you where to find it and how to book a call with me. And honestly, you can simply DM me. But when you DM me or if you send me a connection request, please don't just send me a plain connection request because I get so many. It's hard for me to keep track, right? And I cannot accept every single person. I have a limited number of connections that I can accept. I'm already almost capped. I'm at over 46,000 followers, and LinkedIn limits to 30,000 connections. Okay. So please, send me a personalized message or just hit the message button on my profile. So just going to show you how to book the call with me. So if you go on here, you can click on this button, book an appointment, and it's going to take you to this page that is going to help you understand what is it that I do. And you can click on this button and it will ask you for a couple questions just so that I have enough understanding of your situation. That way we can make the best of our call. The more information I have, the better it's going to help me diagnose the issues that are blocking you so that we can create a plan for you to help you achieve your goals. And if the plan makes sense and we're aligned, we can talk about working together. If not, you have a plan, which is great, right? So I hope that this has been valuable for you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. And yeah, Brandy, thank you so much for sharing that you are a high performer. Okay, so yeah, let me know if you have any questions. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your, what is it, Wednesday. All right, bye, friends.